So I'm here today at Robin Close Community Hall. We've just been in a meeting about scamming a lady called Elizabeth Luke, and this is Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, John.
How are you? So in the meeting you were talking about various types of scams, obviously very appropriate to Robin's Close, because Robin's Close is very much a shelter community, mostly of our elderly folk here. So they would be, I'm supposing, a little more vulnerable.
That's true. Most of the scams are aimed at the older generation, so 65 plus scams far more than the younger generation do.
I must admit, during the meeting I did pick up several things. You know, you kind of think you know it all, and I thought I did, but actually I really didn't. So I think really this is also something for every resident in our area, well throughout the country obviously, but certainly in Taunton and Bishop's Hull here in particular.
I mean, it's becoming a big business for these scammers. They make a lot of money from it, and therefore they become more inventive all the time. So although you think you might know and that you wouldn't be scammed, believe me, they keep coming up with new ideas all the time.
They're very clever, aren't they? So types of scam, and that interested me. There's so many different ones. I think we started with something like gaining personal information. How do they do that?
Oh, well, gaining personal information can give the scammers the ability to steal your identity. If they get enough information about you, they can take over your whole financial life. They can take out loans in your name. They can, it's quite serious. And obviously people find it quite difficult to untangle that mess once their identity has been stolen.
Sure. So what do we do? I mean, what do they do? Knock on your door and give you a call?
Yeah, they might pretend to be doing a survey and ask you information about your age, about your lifestyle, those
I've
sort of
had
things.
this on the phone. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying all surveys are scammers, but it is one way that they can get a lot of information about you. And it's not just on the door; it's on the phone as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get surveys come on the phone, and you just be very careful about the information.
So during the survey itself, they're asking you questions. I mean, do they directly ask what your bank account number is? Or?
They won't ask that, but they'll gather information about your earnings and whether or not it's worthwhile attempting to scam you, I suppose. Yeah.
And I suppose people are happy to talk about themselves, aren't they?
Yes, so. Yeah, because they can be very friendly. That's how they start out. You know, they have this very calm persona, and you think that you're dealing with a rational individual, whereas in actual fact,
so very plausible.
Very plausible.
Scary, isn't it? Very scary. Perhaps they should do a proper living and sell things, and they do well, wouldn't they? So what about, I noticed one of the other subjects was moving people's savings, so trying to get at people's savings. How do they do that?
Yes, this is quite a common scam. They pretend to be either from your bank or sometimes the police force.
Right.
And they tell you that your account has been hacked or there's been inappropriate activity on it, and to protect your money they ask you to transfer your account money into a different account so that they can protect it.
That's clever, isn't
but
it?
of course the bank would never ask you to do that, and the police would certainly never get you involved in catching fraudulent
and I guess you would get involved in that conversation, because if your bank is calling you,
yes,
that's important, isn't it?
Yes, and they believe the bank is calling them. They may by this time quite a lot of information about you. They may, for example, know what your bank is from some other information that they've gathered.
Oh, from perhaps the previous gaining personal information.
Yes, it's about gaining enough personal information that you believe that they are who they say they are.
Indeed.
And certainly, we have evidence of people in Somerset who have been scammed in this way because they believed that these people who were calling them were from the police. And for an older generation, they want to help, so they think that they're doing something good to help the community, because the police officers are asking them to do this in order that they can catch the criminals, whereas in actual fact the criminals are impersonating the police officers.
Very clever, isn't it? Very clever indeed. You were talking about offering free advice or services. These people are doing this to people, and I guess that's all part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll start out with a friendly thing, offering something that's free, but nothing's free in life.
No, it's too good to be true.
It's too good to be true, which is the old adage, and believe me, as far as scammers are concerned, that's exactly what you should be thinking. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
It probably is, no, quite right. So charging for poor or unnecessary services?
Yeah, this is more likely to be door to door.
Yeah.
So they might knock on your door and say that they've noticed that your roof's got a few tiles missing.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to repair it for you. Now, obviously around here, these are residents of Taunton, so that's maybe not such a big issue because you wouldn't be expecting to pay for
Sure.
the repairs to your house, but that's the way they
But
operate.
in the main village there, where it's just normal private
Yes,
housing?
where it's private property, then for an elderly person they may say, you better be careful about that. Those tiles are slipping, and in the winter you'll have rain coming through your roof.
Very
And
clever.
the elderly person can't see whether the tiles are missing or not
And the
missing.
tarmacking on the
On the
drive. That was
tarmac on
old
the
one,
drive
wasn't it,
is
back
the
in
old
day?
one, yes. But any kind of service like that where they're approaching you to offer a service that you haven't asked for, I'd
Sure.
be very wary about it. Yeah.
No, that's good
And just
advice.
take time to think about it. Any legitimate company will give you that time to think. But scammers are very persuasive, they put a lot of pressure on that you have to do it now. So all I'd say to anyone is just stand back, think about it. If you need to get advice, phone a friend or a family member and say, should I be doing this?
Good advice.
Before you actually hand over any money.
So it's stand back and just stop for a
Yeah,
minute.
stop, take 5 minutes out, just say, I need to think about this, but don't be pressurised into taking a service that you haven't asked for.
That's good advice. The other thing I noticed inside, particularly people in their latter years, let's say, I was surprised to find so many had computers in their home or had smartphones even. So access to the internet. Well, what are the dangers on there? Is this relevant, or can they get into our computers? Or?
Well, they can do. I mean, the famous one that is still around, and you'd think everyone would know about it by now, but people are still being caught out with it, is someone comes on the phone and says they're either from your internet provider or from Microsoft, and they've noticed that your computer's running slow and that there's a virus on it perhaps, and that they can fix it for you. If you're lucky, all that will happen is they'll charge you an exorbitant amount of money and won't have done anything to your computer, but you'll have to pay over the phone using your debit card. If you're very unlucky, then they've sent some malware down your computer, and they now have absolute access to everything you do on that computer. So they see you if you go on your online banking, they know exactly what you're putting in. They know all your contacts on your email account. So they can start to use that information to build a profile for you, and ultimately they can take over your life.
I have to say, about 6 months ago, I fell for the, which I didn't realise at the time, and I did fall for it, was the we can speed up your computer thing. And stupidly, I let the guy have access to my computer. And so far, so good. And maybe he was genuine. I did take the trouble of checking out his company, but it could have been anything.
Yeah,
I
and
was
as I say,
lucky.
some of them it is just a case of they take your money, but they don't actually do anything to fix your computer. But the worst case scenario is they actually take over your computer.
Indeed. So, what are they actually playing on? What are their tactics in most of these scams? Is there a general tactic most scammers use?
Well, I think it's our ability to believe in people. We think that people are genuine, and also in some cases just greed. They offer us a good deal, and we think, oh yeah, I'll make money out of this. Sometimes it's us that are allowing them to scam us, but it's about also playing on people's vulnerability, the fact that they may be lonely, so they sometimes come over as a friend.
Someone nice to chat to.
Someone nice to chat to, because they will be very pleasant people, charming, and then eventually they'll become more persuasive, and ultimately in some cases quite aggressive.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell then, what would you, as an end to this really, what would your advice be to not just the older generation, but perhaps everyone?
To everyone, I would say just take those 5 minutes. Just think about, why is someone asking me this information? If I stopped you in the street and asked you personal information, you wouldn't give it to me.
I really wouldn't.
But people do over the phone. They seem to feel that because someone's phoning it into their home, that they are somehow secure, and therefore they do give a lot of personal information to people that they don't know. So take time, think about it. If you're not sure, back off. Don't be persuaded into doing something that you are not sure about. For an elderly person, maybe check it out with a friend or family member. Investigate the company, ask them for more details about the company.
If someone lives on their own, some really are lonely and don't really have family, people or friends around them.
Yeah.
What should they do you think?
Well, they can report it to Action Fraud.
Okay.
Yeah, or Citizens Advice have a consumer service line, and they can phone up and ask them. if they tell them what the scenario is, most likely citizens advice will say this doesn't sound right, and we advise you not to pursue this unless
Indeed.
you've
And you are obviously from Citizens
I'm
Advice
from
Bureau,
Citizens
aren't you?
Advice,
Yeah,
and
indeed.
we do get a lot of calls to our helpline, which is a national helpline
Yeah, indeed.
regarding that. So, but for elderly people, just stop and think, just take that time, and don't be pressurised into
That's
doing something
fantastic
you're not
advice.
sure about.
Thank you so much for coming today,
Okay,
Elizabeth. I think
you're
everyone,
welcome.
including me, learnt a lot today.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you very
glad.
much indeed for your time.
You're welcome.
If you have concerns, please speak to your friends and family or call CAB on 03454040506.